Good morning. My name is Taylor Hainstock, and I'm the lead for patient and public research engagement with the BC Support Unit Vancouver Island Centre. I want to acknowledge and share the privilege that many of us have for being located on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of Indigenous peoples across BC. I'm joining today's call from the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, also known as the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations communities. I want to thank these nations for keeping their territory alive, vibrant, and healthy, and for the ability to be present on their lands and in their waters. Today, I have the pleasure of sharing with you some of the patient engagement work our Vancouver Island Centre team recently supported. This engagement work explores the use of psilocybin in the compassionate treatment of end-of-life emotional distress. For those of you who may not know, psilocybin is a compound found in many species of mushrooms that creates psychoactive and psychedelic effects. The name of magic mushrooms may ring a bell. Over the next 12 or so minutes, we're going to give you the Coles Notes version of our patient and public engagement efforts. We'll touch on the current state of psilocybin-assisted therapy and patient-oriented research in Canada. We'll highlight our approach to listening and learning from patients, what we heard, and finally, where the team is hoping to go next. Before diving into content, I think it's important to recognize our multi-stakeholder team. This group of individuals includes clinicians and end-of-life specialists, alongside partners from Victoria Hospice, TherapCell, and the psychedelic medicine assisted therapy community more broadly. Victoria Hospice provides end-of-life care focused on palliative treatment, and TherapCell is a small nonprofit coalition dedicated to helping Canadians in medical need access legal psilocybin-assisted therapy and medical psilocybin. It is made up of healthcare professionals, patients, community members, and advocates. You might be thinking, wait a second, there's a really important group missing from this list, and you're not wrong. Patients are not yet part of this team, and this wasn't an oversight, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that decision a few slides from now. So in August of 2020, 4 Canadians supported by TherapCell were granted exemptions to legally access psilocybin therapy. This is the first known time that individual Canadians have been granted an exemption for psilocybin since it became a controlled substance in 1974. To date, 79 Canadians with end-of-life distress have received exemptions through Section 56 applications. When we started discussing what patient engagement in this space might look like, this was roughly late 2020, being granted a Section 56 exemption was the only legal way to access psilocybin-assisted therapy. However, on January 5th of this year, the process changed. Health Canada is now requiring all patients who are in need of medical access to psilocybin for a serious or life-threatening illness to first either access a clinical trial and or attempt access through the Special Access Program. Health Canada is no longer accepting Section 56 applications unless it can be demonstrated to access psilocybin was not possible through existing legal routes. Through organizations like TherapCell and the psychedelic medicine assisted therapy community more broadly, we know that patients play a key role in advocating for increased access and awareness of psilocybin-assisted therapy. We also know that patients help to advance the scientific evidence base of this therapy by participating in research studies. But what we know less about is the extent to which patients actively contribute to the development of psilocybin-assisted therapy research, ensuring studies address their priorities, their needs, and their concerns. If you search PubMed or any other database for journal articles that include patient-oriented research and psychedelics, you'll quickly realize that no teams have taken a POR approach to this topic before. This presented the team with a huge opportunity to build awareness and lead the way. So the team has collective interest in generating evidence that explores the use of psilocybin in the compassionate treatment of end-of-life emotional distress. But before hopping on a call to pull together a project plan and submit a grant application, they wanted to ensure that their approach to their project design was accurately reflecting the lived experiences, concerns, and needs of patients who have received or are considering psychedelic-assisted therapy. They wanted to listen and learn from a broad group of patients instead of putting out a call to have a few join their team right away. The request for broad engagement support was brought forward to our Island Centre team. Upholding SPORE guiding principles, including inclusiveness, support, mutual respect, and co-building, has been forefront for the team. This engagement work was built on these guiding principles and incorporated best practices in public and patient engagement from leading organizations like the International Association for Public Participation. There were many considerations taken into account while planning this engagement work. Respecting the health status and emotional toll on patients was definitely top of mind. There was unanimous agreement that the opportunity to engage was to be as least intrusive as possible. The ability to contribute when patients wanted, from wherever they wanted, was really important. The ever-changing COVID-19 environment also required the team to be nimble. Traditional engagement techniques, such as bringing people together in the same time and space, were simply not feasible for this work. For these reasons and many others, it was decided that an online survey was the most appropriate engagement technique. The survey ran from November 2021 to January 2022. It was conducted via an open link that was accessible to anyone, which means findings cannot be generalized to the broader population. The survey took about 15 minutes to complete and no personal information was collected. Respondents were also reminded throughout the survey to not include any personal identifiable information in their comments. So there were 4 main objectives to this engagement survey. The team wanted to identify challenges and supports to psilocybin-assisted therapy, to identify priority patient experiences, to identify the stages of psilocybin-assisted therapy where patients still had outstanding questions or had a lot of unanswered questions, and to identify patient priorities for future patient-oriented research. So who did we hear from? The team was interested in learning from 2 really distinct sort of patient groups. The first group was individuals who have received psilocybin-assisted therapy for the compassionate treatment of their end-of-life emotional distress. At the time of the survey, there was only 31 patients across Canada who had been granted Section 56 exemptions, who might be eligible and interested in completing the survey. We refer to this group moving forward as our patient group. The second group we wanted to listen and learn from was individuals who have not yet received the therapy, but who are curious and considering it. We refer to this group as our curious patients. In total, we had 27 individuals respond to our survey, 7 patients and 20 curious patients. Engagement work cannot be compared to robust survey methodology. If we were to bring together 27 patients in the same time and space, that would be a really, really good turnout. We wouldn't question the legitimacy of their feedback or their insights for a second. We brought that same mentality to the engagement survey work. We were grateful to have 27 individuals experiencing end-of-life emotional distress to take the time to share their thoughts and experiences with us. Now it's time to dive into a little bit about what we heard. 2 of the main topics we were interested in learning more about were challenges and supports to receiving psilocybin-assisted therapy. The team knows that patients will likely face challenges when it comes to receiving this form of treatment. On a scale from 1 to 5, respondents were asked to indicate how big a list of challenges were or might be to them. This was a matrix structured question that used a 5-point Likert scale, where 1 was not at all a challenge and 5 was listed as a very big challenge. Results captured here on this slide are of those who ranked the challenges as being either a 4 or a 5. There's interesting distinctions between these two groups. Patients are in the position of being able to reflect back on their experiences of psilocybin-assisted therapy, while curious patients are considering potential or perceived challenges. The top challenges for patients were the cost of treatment, acquiring a Section 56 exemption, and fear of having a bad trip or experience. Conversely, the curious patients perceived the biggest challenges to be focused on the process. Curious patients anticipated challenges that were really focused on getting connected and set up to receive the treatment. To learn more about the topic of supports, we asked respondents to indicate on a scale from 1 to 5 how helpful a list of supports were or might be to them. A rank of 5 meant the support was very helpful, and 1 not at all helpful. Results captured here are those who ranked supports as 4 or 5. What is clear is that everyone is in need of support to navigate the process. The support of an organization as well as a healthcare provider are incredibly important. Nobody can do this on their own. Until patients receive a Health Canada exemption, the financial aspects of receiving psilocybin-assisted therapy aren't known in specifics. Patients who have received the therapy have a better understanding of the importance of financial support. Curious patients are still more focused on getting themselves connected to the therapy to begin with. Understanding patients' experiences when they seek and receive healthcare plays a hugely important role in improving patient-centered care. Naturally, patient experience is a central tenet to psilocybin-assisted therapy. The team was interested in learning about the kinds of experiences that are most important to patients and curious patients. Respondents were asked to indicate how important 11 different types of patient experiences were to them, where 1 meant not at all important and 5 very important. Examples of the kinds of patient experiences respondents were asked to rank included things like the importance of receiving respectful and culturally safe treatment by the healthcare provider, and safety, so no additional harm to the patients. For patients who have received the therapy, the top 3 most important patient experiences were having support from a healthcare provider post-psilocybin session to help with integration, receiving clear information from the healthcare provider, and access to a safe source of psilocybin. Interestingly, curious patients ranked a reduction of end-of-life distress symptoms and spiritual existential health as being most important patient experiences when it comes to this type of therapy. When embarking on the psilocybin-assisted therapy journey, there are a number of different stages and steps in the process. The team was looking to better understand the stage of treatment that patients had the most unanswered or outstanding questions about. This would help to identify where there may be information gaps around psilocybin-assisted therapy. Respondents were asked to rank the stages of treatment, where 1 meant most unanswered questions and 5 the least. In a dream world, we would have had one single standout stage of treatment where both groups had the most unanswered questions. Wouldn't that have been a dream? Instead, we heard that patients had the most unanswered questions in the earlier stages of the treatment. Things like information to support making an informed decision about the treatment, acquiring the exemption, and sourcing the psilocybin. Curious patients had unanswered questions that span across the treatment stages, including pre, during, and post. The last topic the team was interested in learning more about was future research priorities. Both patients and curious patients were asked what the most important aspect of psilocybin-assisted therapy they thought research should explore next. The question was open text, allowing respondents to take it wherever they wanted to go. Patients who had experienced the therapy were most interested in future research that explores the experience of the psilocybin session itself, making sure that it was personalized to the patient, as well as the mental health benefits the therapy brings. Patients who were considering psilocybin-assisted therapy had a much broader range of topics they thought that future research should explore. There was lots of interest in the physiological aspects of the therapy, the effectiveness of the treatment under stress and depression, the connection between the treatment and spirituality, and lastly, the impact the treatment had on an individual's overall health and wellness. All respondents were given the opportunity to provide final thoughts at the end of the survey. When asked if there was anything else that they'd like to share about their experiences with psilocybin-assisted therapy, patients who had received the therapy didn't include any additional information, but curious patients heavily focused on barriers created by the process. So why do all of this engagement work? Why is it important? One thing that we're trying to do within patient-oriented research is better understand the needs and priorities of patient groups. But really, how do we do this right? Our team focused on putting patients first. We were naturally inclined to bring people together in the same time and space. Of course we were, but we really had to step back and assess the realities of the group that we wanted to listen and learn from. We asked ourselves questions like if we as the team had the right experience or expertise to hold these conversations, if research was even a priority for patients at this point in their lives, if respecting health status of patient partners in research is so important, who are we to ask folks to hop on a Zoom call and chat with a team who they don't know about an incredibly personal topic? For so many reasons, the team landed on the preferred online engagement route. This approach respected where the patients were at and didn't force them to fit into any kind of rigid Zoom-related schedule. They could fill out the survey at whatever time they wanted from wherever they wanted. They were truly in the driver's seat. There's immense value in seeking feedback from different groups and not just lumping all respondents together. As you could see in earlier slides, supports, challenges, experiences, and unanswered questions are different between the two groups. But what does this mean? This means that future research really needs to reflect these differences. Exploring feedback by group helped to paint a more complete picture and point out different types of knowledge gaps that patient-oriented research could address. Lastly, this engagement work will help to build awareness and support integrating POR approaches into psychedelic research. As I mentioned at the start, patient-oriented research and psychedelics are generally missing from our existing knowledge base. You'll quickly realize that no teams have taken this POR approach, and that this is why this team had such a huge opportunity to build awareness and lead the way. So where are we going next? A public report is going to be developed by our team to summarize the engagement process and findings and this will be made available through the same channels that we use to promote the engagement survey, including Therapsil, Victoria Hospice, Island Health, and the BC Support Unit. We're going to connect with academic and clinical researchers in BC who have an interest in psychedelic medicine. We pointed out at the start that there were no patient partners on our team yet. This engagement survey was a platform for us to share our contact information. If respondents were interested in being involved in future POR activities, they were encouraged to reach out to us. And we are happy to report that we did have folks express interest. One of the many goals of this engagement work is to inform research design and eventually program design, including implementation in healthcare settings. Although the program design and implementation side of things may be further down the road, ideally after the research has taken place, keeping leadership and decision makers informed of activities is an important component of the work that we've done to date and the future work to come. The team would first off like to thank all of the individuals who took the time to share their feedback. Their insights have helped to explore knowledge gaps across the psilocybin-assisted therapy treatment process, as well as help chart the future of psilocybin-assisted therapy research. We'd also like to thank the Putting Patients First Conference committee organizers for providing us with the opportunity to share our work. Our team is available to answer questions in the chat or at the end of the session. Thank you.